G'day everyone, Dennis Yusuf here. I've got Darren Hunter and we are from Inspired Growth Training, and today we are doing a podcast for the BDM Coach podcast show. Darren, we are on a winning streak here when it comes to working out tracking new business. So many people are out there trying to be BDMs, or they are being BDMs or listing agents, but one of the key things that we hear people is they want accountability, right? All of the posts that I do when it comes to what do you want in growth, when I'm doing discovery calls for the peak performance community, for masterminds, for any BDM stuff, Darren, their key thing that people want is accountability.
They do. So we're going deep, everyone, into one of the pillars. It's actually one of the 10 pillars of generating leads. Okay, so with the pillars, with the 10 pillars, they're doing using video text. There's also articles, database. There's meetings like network meetings. There's training. There's phone calls. There's social media. There's different kinds of brand marketing in your area. There's using testimonials and Google reviews, there's events, and there's using real estate sales to its full extent. Now, one of those is calls. And Dennis, let's go deep into this. We've got 7 different ways that you can be generating calls or making calls to generate leads. And everyone, this spreadsheet here where we're taking this from is a point scoring system, Dennis. So certainly in our peak performance community, they're held accountable to giving, I think, they have to come up with 25 points a day. So we're not asking them to make calls on all 7 of these characteristics, but at least everyone through this podcast, you know, the 7 different types of calls that you can be making. So Dennis, let's just get straight off the mark. All right, self-managed owner calls. Tell us about those and how can they be generating leads by calling self-managed owners? I mean, don't you think that they want to be managing their own property?
You know, Darren, they do want to manage the property themselves. You're right. and I love this topic because everyone's cringing thinking, I don't want to call self-managed owners. I'll let the private owners manage it themselves. And while 99% of the property managers around the world will agree and be happy to let other people do it, I'll be the 1% that actually calls the self-managed owners because they're just uneducated. Yes, there's some that you don't want to touch, right? But there's a lot of them that have had previous history with bad agents, or they just think they could do it themselves. They don't understand legislation, whatever the case. I mean, there is a 3-hour training session just on that topic.
There is. And everyone, if you get into our IGT membership, we've got in our Top Growth Academy, we've got a whole section of that training there of how to convert self-managing owners. That said, I know in Australia, most properties are managed by agents, but of course in New Zealand and the United States, that's not the case. And so there is still a viable market with self-managed owners, you know, still in Australia, but certainly in New Zealand and more so in the United States.
And UK is very similar numbers to New Zealand, Darren. It's roughly about a 50-50 as well. Some New Zealand agents I talk to, it's even higher. But, the next area, Darren, is for sale by owners, you know, which is another call, the for sale by owners. Now, you're a property manager. You're a BDM that should be prospecting for new business. Now, these people that are selling the homes themselves, they're just like a sales agent. So why aren't we calling them and offering rental opinions? Do they have investors that are coming through? So you can bridge the gap and speed the process up of them selling the house by you offering material for any potential investors. I mean, that falls into the category of the investor support service area. But I mean, there's hours and hours of training just on that. But again, this is just a little tip to show people these are types of calls that you should be making.
You're saying that the self-managed owner might be trying to sell his own property, but even so, property investors are still sniffing around and making inquiry without self-managed owners. So how can anyone call them and get access to the property investors?
Well, I mean, these investors are putting an inquiry to the selling agent or the owner selling the property themselves. So they're getting all of that data. So you should be building relationships with people selling a home, whether it's a sales agent or a private seller. They're just sales agents. So that's where you should be contacting them, so you can work through that. But again, Darren, there's hours of training on this. This is just one little category of what they should be doing.
All right, well, let's move on now. You got no reason calls is another area on the spreadsheet that we keep people accountable to with a daily point scoring system. No reason calls. How does that work? How does that convert into business?
Well, a no reason call, there's always a reason from our behalf, but it's just the wording that we use. A no reason call could be to your current owners. So they're sick and tired of hearing from their property manager when there's a problem, right? But we need to be calling them and turning them into raving fans. So you should be calling your current landlords, calling your current tenants, calling your current tradespeople, your current rental referrers, etc., and building relationships with them for no reason. Just because you've signed them up, just because you've got them as a client or a referring partner, doesn't mean you shouldn't be continuing to build relationships with them.
Yep. Well done. And I guess there's an FYI, everyone, in our Top Growth Academy, in our membership, we've got a whole section on growing more with current clients. And it's not just calling them to find out if they've got any other properties that they manage, that they've got that you don't manage, but it's also who do they know that may be looking for a property manager, because investors are always in investor circles and connected to others. Okay, so just be aware. And we actually cover 25 different conversation starters that you can have with your current clients. And we got the full scripts in there as well on those calls that you can make. Very, very exciting, isn't it, Dennis? When offices got 100, 200, 300, 400 owners that they could begin calling right away when they're crying out for more leads. It's just there, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. I actually think it's 30, but we did advertise it as 25.
Right, well, let's talk about previous lost business calls. So you're talking about owners that we used to manage that no longer manage. How is there possibly leads there?
So it means two things, but I'll answer your question first. So the grass isn't greener on the other side. By all means, if you are a good agency, yes, you may have lost business because of whatever reason it is. You should be giving them a call in 6 months to see how things are going, and update them. You should still have them on your newsletters. You would hope that they're still following your socials. You don't want them, if they're not happy, not to come back to you if things fall apart, right? So you should keep those relationships open. Now, it also means follow up. So any appointments that you've done, you've lost the business to a rival agent, Darren, right? So if I was up against you and the landlord chose you over me, I should still be calling you. You're lost business. So I should still be calling you in 6 months, in 9 months. How is it going with Darren? We're just giving updates to our current clients that 100% of our tenants are paying the rent. How's Darren going with collecting the rent, right? So you're updating them, giving them a follow-up call, even if you didn't sign it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the next one, because I think this is very lucrative. And Dennis, you've just written a book called Best 3 Ways, which is the most effective strategies, the biggest and best, fastest way to grow a rent roll with 3 strategies. And in there, we talk about working a lot more with salespeople, and you've got sales home opens on properties where investors are coming through and they're registering at the door. Property investors are giving their contact details at the door. There is a list going if you're associated with real estate sales people. Now, Dennis, how does a BDM or a property manager access these lists when there seems to be a great divide between salespeople and property managers? How are they going to access these lists? Because there are certainly investors on those lists that are looking for a property, and then they'll be looking for a property manager.
Well, there's multiple lists, Darren. There is multiple lists, right? And this is where proactive BDMs work well. So there's the registration when they attend a sales home open. There's auctions where potential purchasers register, right? Then there's the list as well of people that register their interest on a web portal, right? So there's 3 easy ones that I've brought up, and there are more lists that you could go through. But people that are attending sales home opens, you're right. There's leads going into businesses, but there's so like in front of people, but property managers are relying on a salesperson to say, here's one person that has purchased the property, it's an investor. What about the other 30, 40, 50 that are going through the home opens? There's multiple lists, and PM only, Darren. There's builders, there's house and land packages, there's display villages that have all got sales agents. There's so many lists that you can tap into.
Yeah, there's so much opportunity here, isn't there, in generating leads? So many offices right now, we need more leads, but this is what you've got to do proactively to get them. Okay, next one is new tradesperson calls. For Americans, that's vendors, but Deniz, how does that work?
Well, you should always be keeping your list of businesses, growing, right? Because plumbers retire. This could be strategic alliances, always updating those tradespeople that are coming in, because they've got an influence in their marketplace, their ecosystem. So you should always be adding new cleaners, new plumbers, new garden people, those tradespeople that specialize in the housing area to do with rentals, carpet cleaners, window cleaners, fences, restoration people, whatever the case. You should always be reaching out to them and growing that business ecosystem in your database, because they want to work with property managers. They're always trying to get in the door. You should be proactive and contacting them. Okay, help them. So many times, Darren, they see me as a trainer and they follow me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever, and they're asking me to help them get in the door with real estate agents. Right? So you've got these people are hungry. You want to surround yourself by hungry people. So be proactive and be hungry and invite them in.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. So vacant property calls, Deniz. How can people generate leads out of vacant property? Now, how are they going to find vacant property? What is it? Simply just from driving around and they notice? What's the deal?
So this one is an area where the vacant property could be a house that's for sale, that's been for sale for a very long time. It could be with a rival agent, it could be with your owner agency, and there is a process of contacting them, because have they considered renting the home out while selling the property? Good luck in selling the property. It's been for sale for, let's say, 90 days. 90 days could be a really, really, really long time in somebody's market, or 90 days might not be much in another market. But whatever the long market is, that's when you should be reaching out to those people and ask if they're considered renting while they're selling.
So we're not talking about, though, us contacting rental properties of our rivals, right?
No,
so we're not talking about poaching. We just want to make that clear to everyone. We're not, we'll never, ever discuss or teach poaching or anything like that in any way. Okay, so there's 7 ways there. So everyone, that's just part of the accountability that we're giving our peak performance community with the businesses that we are coaching, and to a certain level, the mastermind as well. But Deniz, what do people do? How can people get in contact with you to book into your diary to have a chat about this and getting access to these rent roll growth strategies, training, accountability, and the community?
The best way to contact me, Darren, is growmyrentroll.com. Very simple. They'll be able to book directly into my diary. They can choose the time that suits them. It's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, no, that's it. And if you haven't got Deniz's book, the PM Lead Secrets, go to pmleadsecrets.com, and that is 40 different ways to grow. The book is free, just got to pay shipping. All right. So thanks, everyone. Good to chat, Deniz, and we'll see everyone in the next podcast episode.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Okay, bye.